I stood in the clinic, gripping the DNA results with trembling fingers. The paper declared 0% biological relation between me and the baby girl everyone insisted was mine to care for. The nurse's voice cut through the room like ice. "Ma'am, the results are conclusive. There's no match." My stepdaughter's triumphant smirk burned into my peripheral vision. But none of that mattered when I looked down at the infant in the carrier. She stared up at me with unmistakable pale blue irises. Aldrich's eyes, my late husband's eyes. The room erupted with accusations. Voices calling me delusional. Voices saying Aldrich was a cheater from the grave. I remained outwardly calm, but something ancient and fierce awakened inside me. My hand stopped shaking. My voice dropped to a whisper that somehow silenced everyone. "Those are Aldrich's eyes, and I will prove it." Nobody moved, nobody breathed. I picked up my purse and walked out with my head high, leaving them all standing in their shock. When I returned home, Aldrich's brother Lysander Kent was waiting on my porch. His expression was grim and rehearsed. "Isolde," he said without greeting, "you need to stop embarrassing the family. That baby isn't related to us. You should step aside." His wife Marsha stood behind him, phone raised, recording me like I was some spectacle for social media. I noticed something crucial. Lysander flinched visibly when I mentioned Aldrich's will. Just a tiny movement of his jaw. But I caught it. "The will has nothing to do with this," he said too quickly. I didn't argue. I simply nodded and went inside. They left eventually, but their presence lingered like smoke. I collapsed onto the couch, exhausted and confused. That's when a sealed, yellowing envelope fell from one of Aldrich's old books on the side table. It landed softly on my lap. My name was written across the front in Aldrich's unmistakable handwriting. My heart stopped. I hadn't seen this before. When had he written it? I opened the letter with careful hands. Aldrich's voice came through in shaky, rushed handwriting. "Isolde, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I fear someone close has been stealing from the family trust. They might target any blood I leave behind. Be vigilant if anything strange happens after my death. Trust no one in the family except yourself." My chest tightened as I read each word. Aldrich had known something was coming. He'd sensed danger before he died. But there was more. At the bottom of the letter sat a name I had never seen before. Vespera Lorne. I stared at it for a long time. Then I pulled out my phone and searched the name. My breath caught when the results loaded. Vespera Lorne was listed as the mother of the baby. The same baby with Aldrich's eyes. The same baby the DNA test said wasn't connected to me. I grabbed my coat immediately. I needed answers, and I needed them now. I found Vespera's address in a shabby apartment building on the edge of town. I expected hostility when I knocked. Instead, a trembling young woman opened the door and burst into tears the moment she saw me. "You're Isolde," she whispered. I nodded slowly. She pulled me inside quickly, glancing down the hallway like someone might be watching. "I never claimed Aldrich fathered the baby," she said, voice breaking. "I said someone related to him might be the father." But Lysander's lawyer pressured me into signing something else. They changed my words. My pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" She looked at me with terrified eyes. "The baby's father isn't Aldrich. It's someone who shares his blood. And they threatened me if I told you." She reached under her couch cushion and pulled out a hidden envelope. Her hands shook as she slid it across the table toward me. "This is the real test," she whispered. "The one they tried to hide." I sat in my car outside Vespera's building, hands shaking as I opened the envelope. The paternity test inside listed the father as a Kent male, exact identity concealed. My mind raced. The clinic results weren't wrong. They were redirected. I held the paper up to the light and saw faint whiteout marks along the edges. Altered barcodes. Someone had tampered with both tests. Someone who desperately needed this baby, not tied to the Kent bloodline. I thought about who had access to family records, who had connections to clinics and lawyers, who would benefit most from keeping this secret buried. The answer crystallized like ice in my veins. The only Kent male with that kind of access was Lysander. "Lysander, what did you do?" I whispered to my empty car. Then I pulled out my phone and dialed an old friend. Someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Callum Drexler, a retired forensic investigator with a mind like a steel trap. I met Callum at a quiet diner the next morning. He looked older, grayer, but his eyes were still sharp. I slid the altered DNA printouts across the table. He studied them in silence, turning them over, holding them up to the light. "This isn't amateur work, Isolde. He murmured, "This is someone with institutional access." He looked up at me seriously. "Who stands to lose everything if that baby is confirmed Kent blood?" The answer hit me before I could speak it. Lysander, if the baby was legitimate Kent blood. She could challenge the estate, challenge the trust, challenge everything Lysander had worked to control since Aldrich died. Callum pulled out a magnifying glass from his jacket. He examined the barcode on the test more closely. Then he froze. "Isolde," he said quietly. "There's a second barcode here. One that's been partially scratched off." He pulled up a database on his phone. The barcode was registered under a private account. Lysander Kent's private account. I walked into the clinic alone the next afternoon, pretending to be meek and confused. A role I'd played too well for too long. The receptionist's eyes widened when she saw me. She stood quickly and rushed to the back without a word. Moments later, the clinic director appeared. Dr. Rowan Eltridge. He wore a forced smile and extended his hand. "Mrs. Kent, what a surprise. How can I help you?" I asked simple questions about retesting, about accuracy, about procedures. He answered each one with rehearsed patience, trying to usher me toward the door. But I spotted something behind his desk. A billing file labeled Kent Family Special Processing. I stepped closer, pretending to admire a painting on the wall. Dr. Eltridge panicked, his smile vanished. "Mrs. Kent, I think it's time for you to leave." I pointed at the file. "What are you hiding?" "Dr. Eltridge," he flinched hard. Security appeared within seconds. They escorted me out gently but firmly. But his flinch told me everything I needed to know. That weekend, there was a family dinner. I attended even though every instinct told me to stay away. Lysander confronted me the moment I arrived. His rage was performative and loud. "You're obsessive, Isolde, unstable. Disrespectful to Aldrich's memory." People watched uncomfortably. But then he made a mistake. He blurted out, "That baby will ruin everything." The room went completely silent. Forks stopped midair. Marsha squeezed his knee under the table. A clear warning. I saw it, I noted it. Then I calmly sipped my wine and spoke very softly. "Only a guilty man fears a child." Lysander turned white as bone. He opened his mouth but nothing came out. Marsha stood quickly, suggesting they leave early. As they gathered their things, Marsha walked past me. She slipped something into my purse when no one was looking. I felt the folded paper but didn't react. I waited until I got home to read it. The note said only, "Meet me alone tomorrow." Marsha met me secretly in a parked car 2 towns over. She looked exhausted, mascara smudged, hair less perfect than usual. She spoke without looking at me. "I've known about Lysander's secret for years. He has a long-standing weakness for younger women." I stayed silent, letting her continue. "That baby wasn't the first," she said quietly. "It's just the first one that lived." My stomach twisted. She explained that Lysander had gotten another woman pregnant 5 years ago. He'd paid a significant amount of money for the records to disappear. For the woman to disappear, I kept proof. Marsha said, because I knew one day he'd go too far. She handed me a flash drive. "Everything's on here. Clinic invoices, DNA records, emails between him and Dr. Eltridge." I took it carefully. "Why are you doing this?" She finally looked at me. Her eyes were hollow. "Because I can't let him hurt anybody else." "Please," her voice broke on that last word. Callum and I opened the flash drive that night. Inside were dozens of files, clinic invoices, DNA records, emails between Lysander and Dr. Eltridge that made my blood run cold. One line froze my breath completely. "The child must not be tied to the Kent name. Destroy all biological matches." Callum exhaled sharply beside me. "This is criminal conspiracy. Isolde, medical fraud, maybe more." We sat in heavy silence, processing what we'd found. Then my phone rang. It was Vespera. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. "Isolde, someone broke into my apartment. They took everything. The baby's crib is gone." They took her. My heart dropped into my stomach. I stood up so fast my chair fell backward. "Where are you now?" I demanded. "Still here. The police are coming." "But Isolde, I'm so scared." I grabbed my keys. "Stay there, I'm coming." I looked at Callum. "They took her," I whispered. His face went pale. We ran. I arrived at Vespera's building with Callum right behind me. The front door hung crooked, like someone had ripped it open with impatience instead of skill. Inside, the apartment was destroyed. Drawers overturned, clothes trampled. Picture frames shattered on the floor. but in the center of the chaos stood one untouched item. The baby's blanket, neatly folded on the floor. Placed not dropped, a message. Vespera clung to me, trembling. They said if I opened my mouth, they'd take her. I did, and they did. My heart fractured, but my mind sharpened. I scanned the room while comforting her. A smell lingered, faint chemical. Expensive, Lysander's cologne. I'd know it anywhere. Callum crouched near the window. Isolde, come here. I walked over carefully. He pointed to something small on the floor, partially hidden under the crib screws. A single embossed cufflink, with the Kent family crest engraved on its surface. I picked it up with a tissue. Evidence, solid, undeniable evidence. I brought the cufflink to Callum's office. He studied it under a lamp. This isn't a bluff anymore. Isolde, this is abduction. I knew it was more than that. It was desperation. Lysander was cornered, terrified that the truth would surface and destroy everything he'd built. Callum pulled up CCTV footage from Vespera Street. At exactly 2:17 in the morning, a black SUV appeared. The license plate was blurred, but the driver's profile was sickeningly familiar. Lysander's stiff posture, his habitual head tilt, the nervous way he gripped the steering wheel. I felt something shift inside me. Fear crystallized into purpose. I will not be bullied, I said quietly, and I will not let a child vanish because a grown man cannot face his own sins. Callum froze the video frame. Isolde, look at the backseat. He enlarged the image. My breath stopped. There was a second passenger in the SUV. Someone I had trusted, someone I had believed was helping me. Marsha. The passenger in the SUV was unmistakably Marsha. Her profile was clear, even in the grainy footage. Her hands stretched backward, as if comforting the crying baby. Shock rippled through me first, then understanding. Marsha was never Lysander's puppet. She was his partner in every cover-up. Maybe even the architect. Callum spoke carefully. She wasn't helping you when she gave you that flash drive. She was leading you somewhere. I replayed every conversation with her in my mind. Her fear had been too polished, her tears too well-timed, her confession too perfectly curated. Marsha wasn't trying to expose Lysander. She was trying to frame him, to walk away clean while he endured the fall. My phone vibrated suddenly, a blocked call. I answered. A woman's voice whispered through distortion. Mrs. Kent, stop digging, or you'll lose more than a child. The call ended. I looked at Callum. That was Marsha, he nodded grimly. I know. The voice on the phone had been disguised, softened and distorted, but her cadence was unmistakable. The upward lilt at the end of sentences. Marsha, I felt a slow, steady fire rise in my chest. I am not a woman who raises her voice or throws things. But there are deeper ways to fight. Ways that turn a lifetime of wisdom into a weapon. I spent decades watching Aldrich manage the Kent estate. The trusts, the business holdings. Every detail he taught me resurfaced, now like a tide, bringing back long-buried shells. Callum watched me quietly as I outlined a plan. This wasn't just about finding the baby anymore. It was about dismantling the power structure that let Lysander and Marsha operate in the shadows. Tomorrow, I said calmly, I walk into the Kent financial offices. And I'm not leaving without the truth. Callum smiled slightly. They won't see you coming. I smiled back. That's the point. I arrived at the Kent corporate headquarters the next morning. A place I once decorated for Christmas parties and charity galas. Employees froze when they saw me. Whispers trailed behind me like smoke. She's back. I thought she was gone after Aldrich passed. She looks stronger. I entered the boardroom without knocking. Lysander was there, startled. Pale, sweat collecting at his temples. Marsha sat beside him, legs crossed. Calm and polished, too calm. I placed the cufflink on the table. Then the flash drive, then printed stills of the SUV footage. Not a single word spoken. The weight of silence crushed the room. My voice, measured and composed, sliced through the air. Where is the child? Lysander broke instantly, panic, guilt, fear all flooding his face. But Marsha simply smiled, a slow, taunting, victory-born smile. She leaned forward and murmured, Isolde, darling, you have no idea who the real father is. The room went completely still. Her words hung in the air like a blade suspended above my spine. You have no idea who the real father is. The boardroom stared in stunned silence. Lysander sputtered, Marsha, what are you doing? She ignored him completely, eyes fixed on me. I watched her expression carefully. The serenity of someone who finally gets to reveal the twist she's been savoring. She opened her tablet and slid it across the table. A file displayed a name I recognized, but not as a suspect. Brennan Vale Kent, my late husband Aldrich's estranged cousin. The family ghost. The one who vanished decades ago after a scandal they buried so deeply I'd almost forgotten. Marsha's voice softened, vicious under the sweetness. The baby has your husband's eyes, because Brennan had them too. Lysander gasped. That's when I realized he didn't know either. He wasn't the mastermind, he was the shield. Marsha whispered, and Brennan isn't gone. He's been here all along. My world tilted sideways. Callum and I retreated to his car. My breath was shallow, my mind racing in circles. Brennan Vale Kent, the cousin Aldrich mourned. The cousin the family declared irreparably unstable. The cousin, they said, drowned off the Carolina coast. But Aldrich's letter rang in my mind again. Someone close is stealing from the bloodline. Callum searched public databases. Nothing. He dug deeper into sealed court files. Private trusts, old deed records. Finally, he exhaled sharply. Isolde. Brennan isn't dead, he was institutionalized. Under Lysander's signature, my world tilted completely. Marsha framed Lysander for everything wrong. But Lysander framed Brennan for the family scandal. A century of generational crime, wrapped in a single surname. Callum kept searching, then he stopped. The last person who visited Brennan was Marsha. 3 months ago, I grabbed my coat. Take me there now. Callum didn't argue, he just drove. We drove to a secluded psychiatric estate, a cold, fog-bound mansion, converted into a private treatment center. Too expensive, too quiet, too hidden. I approached the reinforced window with trembling gentleness. Inside sat a man with Aldrich's profile. Softer, fragile, eyes holding decades of isolation. Brennan, he saw me and stood slowly. He whispered through the glass, "You look like Aldrich." The nurse tried to pull me away. My tone sharpened with authority. "I'm on the Kent board, let go." They did. Inside the room, Brennan's voice cracked. I tried to tell Aldrich. Lysander stole from the family trusts. Marsha told him I'd expose them. Then they locked me away. My breath froze. Another truth emerged slowly. Brennan met Vespera during a community garden program the facility hosted. They fell in love. The baby was his. Not Aldrich's, not Lysander's. He whispered, shaking, "They threatened to bury us both if I claimed her." I took his hand through the glass. "Where did they take her?" "The lake house." He said, "The Kent Lake House." Night fell as Callum and I approached the Kent Lake House. The one Aldrich once used for family retreats. I had decorated that porch for summer cookouts. Now I walked toward it like a battlefield. Lights flickered inside. A baby's soft whimper leaked through a cracked window. We entered quietly. Marsha was there, holding the child, her face serene, as though she was simply doing laundry. She turned to me with a calm smile. "Don't worry, Isolde, I would never hurt her. But I can't let her exist." The softness was more terrifying than any scream. I realized then that Marsha was never afraid of Lysander. Lysander was afraid of her. She manipulated him into signing Brennan's institutionalization. She orchestrated every cover-up. She doctored the tests, she staged the kidnapping. Because the one thing Marsha Lorne Kent could not allow was a child born outside her control, inheriting the Kent fortune. Callum appeared behind her, she startled. The baby cried, I stepped forward. Arms open, "Give me the child." "Marsha, you've already lost." For the first time, she looked frightened. Police sirens wailed outside. The police stormed in, and behind them walked Brennan. He stood tall, shoulders steady. Dignity restored, the facility director followed, confirming he was unlawfully committed. Marsha spiraled, screaming that Brennan was dangerous. Unfit, a stain on the Kent name. But the officers ignored her. They took her away in handcuffs. The baby reached out toward Brennan. When he held her, something inside me shattered and healed at once. I stepped outside to breathe. The lake reflected the moon in silver. Aldrich always said the moon was truth in water. Callum joined me quietly. "What will you do now?" I spoke with calm strength. Aldrich warned me the family legacy was rotting. So I will rebuild it with honesty. With Brennan, with that child's future in mind. The truth didn't break me, it freed me. The last image was perfect. Brennan holding his daughter. The baby's pale blue, eyes glowing with the same gentleness Aldrich once had. DNA said she wasn't mine. Life proved she was family. The truth didn't just set me free, it rebuilt everything they tried to destroy. The lies collapsed, the guilty faced their own reflections. And justice arrived in a way none of them expected, but exactly as it should. If my story taught me anything, It's that betrayal may shake you, but truth will steady you, and strength returns the moment you stop running from what hurt you. Thank you for watching, and remember, even when the world doubts you, your truth will always outlive their deception. To the lovely viewers of this channel, got a story? Let's tell it together. We can also share your story on this channel. We can talk about it, share your story with us. You can tell us what ideals you think we should implement to make our revenge story sound better and more convenient and entertaining for your hearing. Kindly drop your comment below, and let's grow this beautiful community together. I read every single comment, and I promise I'll respond.